Cell C will roll out an additional 100 base stations in Gauteng worth 200 million rand over the next 3 months. This will increase its network capacity and improve quality. Chief Executive Alan Knott-Craig is with us in studio to talk about this, but we got to go back a bit, Alan. You're at Cell C, you've been there for a couple of years now.
18 months.
You're counting the days.
Yes.
And at least you've been given good support from the parent. In the public domain there was a $200 million injection last year, another $350 million injection this year, and more to come in 2014.
Yes, I must say that the injection is subject to, satisfactory regulatory outcomes. So, what they're saying is, if the regulatory framework in this country is conducive to investment, they will invest. If the regulatory framework in this country is not conducive to investment, then clearly they won't invest. So it is important that we get our regulatory framework correct.
And the key issue there is the call termination.
Well, I think there's a number of issues. In general, we've never been great at regulating the telecommunications, at least in my view. Probably other people have different views. But essentially, it goes around MTRs, as you say, which is the mobile terminating rate, which becomes the floor to any price for any tariff. So that's why it's important. And the second thing is asymmetry. And asymmetry is when you bring new players into the market, just like when Vodacom and MTN came into the market in South Africa, they had a very big asymmetry with Telkom until just a couple of years ago. And it's still very big. But they never did that with Cell C or ATAS when they came into the market. So the asymmetry there was almost nothing. And these two companies, for that reason, have never got off the ground. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, why would you license a third and a fourth operator? The reason that you license third and fourth operators when you're heading towards 100% saturation anyway is only to get prices down. If you don't make it possible for them to be financially sustainable in taking market share from the other operators, which is the only way prices come down anyway, then don't do it. Don't license them. Be happy with the status quo. And the status quo, unfortunately, today is that we've gone from a number 5 in 1970, I know that's a long time ago, in terms of being regarded as a positioning of a telco in the world, to 117 out of 140 today. That's just not okay. We did so well in the 90s, and we now find ourselves in a position which we cannot be proud of.
But that $350 million when it did come into the country a couple of months ago,
yes,
it was linked to progress.
Yes, it continues to flow, not just one shot. They decided to put the money in because the regulator did decide to look at the remedies and do so urgently, and we expect an outcome from him, by the 26th of October actually. So they're given dates and deadlines. So yes, they are expecting the regulator to follow best practice in the world. Nothing special in South Africa, just follow world-class best practice.
But clearly, though, Alan, you are presuming that this is going to go in the right direction, because I guess it's rational and it's logical, because you've invested heavily in gaining market share this past year.
Look, we've invested heavily in that. I think we have made a difference, and we have shown the government and the public that it is possible to bring prices down. So that has been part of our strategy. Demonstrate that you can do this. And we've worked very hard with the government and the regulator over the last 18 months. So I'm not basing confidence just on maybe they'll come up with the right decision. We have done a lot of work. And that doesn't mean they will come up with the right one, but I think it's the likelihood that they will come up with a practice which is accepted around the world is good.
I'm one of the many who switched across to you in the last year, but I am a little disappointed that I see you investing 200 million. Not disappointed in that, but there is a doubling in the traffic, and it's a 10% increase in the base stations.
Look, that's just the increase we're putting in. So we're building a lot more than 100 base stations in Johannesburg. In fact, we build about 120 per month in the country, a large portion of which are built in Joburg. This is just an extra boost for Johannesburg, because the traffic in Johannesburg is just, it's difficult to believe that the traffic can grow that much in a market which has got this much saturation already.
How much of that has been market share gains?
Well, look, we've increased our customer base by 30% in the last year and a bit, and that brings with it a lot of traffic. So the traffic has doubled, and that is the voice traffic. When you come to the data traffic, it's quadrupled. So that requires a huge amount of network infrastructure to go in, and in the Johannesburg area in particular. I think that's where we've seen consumers saying, "Look, we're going to go for a better price." Look, the data prices today are very low. They weren't very low 2 years ago. The voice prices today are quite competitive. They weren't that way 2 years ago. Now we have got to get our act together in Johannesburg and get sure that quality comes right, and we will do that.
By
end of November we've put a very high, strong, well-qualified team in place just for Johannesburg, and their brief is everything has got to be perfect by end of November.
And I know you, if it's perfect in your terms, it's going to be more than perfect for me. It's not bad, Alan, but I think that when you look at the arithmetic increase, doubling your traffic on the network, you would wonder, is 200 million enough of an investment that you've announced today?
Well, remember, this 200 million is incremental.
Mm-hmm. You made a bit of history here today. Your son, I don't think we've ever had a son and a father on consecutive days on Power Lunch. I was asking my colleagues and they don't recall that. You must be proud of Alan Jr., what he's doing with Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi into Africa.
Yeah, look, I actually don't know what he's doing most of the time. He told me, he told me this morning actually that he's doing free Wi-Fi. So I said, no, nothing's free. So someone's going to have to pay for this thing. And he never wants me to say that, but the fact of the matter is, yeah, he really believes in that. He believes in this country more than most people. He believes in Africa more than most people, and he's very bright. And so I think, youngsters like him will make a difference in our country.
Well, he certainly is. We spoke with him yesterday on this program, and already 25,000 people who would otherwise not have access to the internet have got it, and more strength to his elbow. Just to close off with, Alan, our newsroom is talking about the Please Call Me court case. You've been in the media on that. What I'm a little confused. What's happening?
Look, in the year 2000, which is like eons ago for me, there was a young chap in Vodacom who came up with an idea. Now that idea turned into a product ultimately, and some 8 years later, he would like a cut of the revenues. And this is really just about ideas belonging to companies, or can they really belong to individuals that work in a company? So I think it's an interesting case from that point of view, because whatever the courts decide is going to set a precedent for this country anyway. And so I think businesses and companies are looking to see, ideas which are when people work in companies, the whole idea is that they build companies, they build value, they bring ideas, they work for the betterment of the company, and they get wealthy through shares or share options or phantom shares or bonus or whatever it is. And that's the way that they make their money, not really out of taking share out of every idea that comes out of every mouth. So it's interesting, I don't work there anymore. I'm just a witness, which is quite interesting. But and it's difficult to remember exactly what happened 13 years ago. So why the youngster didn't come to me just years ago is beyond me. He should have just walked into my office like everyone else does, and no one gives a damn. They just walk in and say whatever they want, to ask whatever. He should have simply just done that in the year 2000, and it would have been sorted out there and then. So you were 13 years later trying to sort out something which happened a long time ago, and quite an important case, I think, in terms of setting a precedent for this.